Let me know when. Are you guys ready?
You
ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tashira Garraway. I am the founder of Families Supporting Families Against Police Violence. Please turn your cell phones off right now. My name is Tashira Garraway. I am the founder of Families Supporting Families Against Police Violence. I come here today standing in representation of all families around Minnesota that have lost their loved ones at the hands of law enforcement. I myself am also the fiance of Justin Tigan, who was brutally beat to death by the St. Paul police and thrown inside of a trash dumpster August 19, 2009. I am the mother of his 14-year-old son. I have been fighting for justice for 11 years now. We want the world to know that these are not isolated issues, that in fact George Floyd and Daunte Wright is the face of hundreds of murders here in the state of Minnesota that have been covered up for many years, and the officers have walked free. There has been over 470 murders at the hands of law enforcement in the last 20 years in the state of Minnesota, and only one man in history has been held accountable, and that was a minority man that killed a white woman, Justine DeMond. We know that there was not one man that was guilty out of all of these bodies, almost 500 bodies. Enough is enough. We're standing together in solidarity. You will not separate our families. You will not isolate these issues. And we are coming forward together. We are unified and we're standing in solidarity. We have strong supporters, strong attorneys that are backing us up. And we're here today to put an end to everything that you guys have tried to cover up, keep under the rug, because enough is enough and we're standing up. Thank you.
Amen.
We will have, okay, we're going to have attorney Ben Crump and then Daunte Wright's mother, Katie.
Come up a little bit. Salona, let's have you all get on this side. We'll keep China. China, I want you to get up in front here.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Hey.
Excuse me, man. No. Don't push it. Okay. Okay. Thank you to Shira, and thank you to Families versus Police Violence, Families Supporting Families Against Police Violence. Thank you for always standing up for families even when the media isn't present. I think we should give them a round of applause.
Yes. Woo.
Thank you, Tashira. I'm attorney Ben Crump, along with attorney Jeff Storms, who hails here from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and attorney Tony Romanucci. We have the honor of representing the family of Daunte Wright. Also, attorney Storms and Romanucci and I, along with attorney Chris Stewart and attorney Justin Miller, have the honor of representing the family of George Floyd Jr. As you can see here, this is a bittersweet moment. It is somewhat gratifying that you have George Floyd's family, who left out the courthouse where the Derek Chauvin trial regarding the death of George Floyd is currently underway, because they thought it was important that they give comfort to Daunte Wright's mother and father and family, and Daunte Wright's child, Daunte Jr., and his mother, China Whitaker, because this time last year, almost a year ago, they were facing the unimaginable. They were facing the unbelievable. They were facing the agony of losing a family member to police excessive force. And it is unbelievable. I mean, it is just something I could not fathom, that in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a suburb 10 miles from where the Chauvin trial regarding George Floyd was taking place, that a police officer would shoot and kill another unarmed black man.
Listen!
It's something that if you told me and I didn't see little Daunte's face and his mother, grandmother crying, I wouldn't believe it. Because if ever there was a time when nobody in America should be killed by police, it was during this pinnacle trial of Derek Chauvin, which I believe is one of the most impactful civil rights police excessive use of force cases in the history of America. And we believe with everything in our heart, Katie, that police would be on their best behavior, that they would exercise the greatest standard of care, that they will concentrate on de-escalation in a way that they have never concentrated in America. But regrettably, 2 days ago, we saw Daunte Wright for a traffic citation, and Attorney Storms is going to talk about this, because y'all do understand we're still in the midst of a pandemic where many people in this state could not get their license tabs on their license plates renewed because the DMV, like everything else in America, was shut down. And so it was told, police, you need to be sensitive because there are going to be a lot of expired license plates out there. But I guess when you're driving while black, people sometimes forget memos and initiatives about the realities of life. And you will hear from his mother, and it's snowing, so everybody's going to try to be brief. You will hear from his mother about the phone call in the car where was said about why he was stopped, because it's evolving. It's evolving so they can justify the unjustifiable. But we're not going to let them justify it, are we? Because Daunte Wright life matters. Daunte Wright life matters. Daunte Wright life matters. And so when you think about the fact that Daunte was trying to get away, he was not a threat to them. Was it the best decision? No. But young people don't always make the best decisions. As his mother said, he was scared. And you have this 26-year veteran on the police force who was training them, Brandon Trey. She was the trainer of the officers. And so for 26 years, you know how you're trained that your duty weapon is on your dominant side and your taser is on your non-dominant side. And why is that? Because it's foreseeable that in an exigent situation, if the taser is beside the gun, you might pull the wrong thing. But after 26 years, you would think that you know what side your gun is on and what side your taser is on. You know the weight of your gun and you know the weight of the taser. You know the gun is black. You know the taser is going to have some reflective color on it. And so it is unacceptable. It was intentional they stopped them. It was intentional they used the most force. They could have gave him a ticket. That's what they do in traffic citations. It reminds you of George Floyd. That was a misdemeanor. They could have gave him a ticket for that. But when it's black people in America, they engage in the most use of force. And it ends up with deadly consequences. And that's why we're here today. And so, without further ado, I'm going to have Attorney Jeff Storms address you briefly, and then we're going to get to Philonis and Brandon and Rodney Floyd talking about what advice they can give to this family, and then you're going to hear from this mother, father, and this mother of Daunte Wright. Attorney Jeff Storms.
There's not a lot left that my great co-counsel and our leader, Ben Crump, hasn't said already. But whenever you hear the word accident, I want you all to be armed with some responses. An accident is knocking over a glass of milk.
Tell them, Jeff.
It's not an accident to take your gun out of the holster. It's not an accident to point your gun.
Tell them, Jeff.
It's not an accident to ignore the fact that what you're holding doesn't weigh the same amount as the taser that you've used in training hundreds of times. How many times in training over the course of 25 years has this officer pulled, aimed, and shot her firearm in practice? So don't tell us it's an accident, because it undermines the tragic loss of life that this family has experienced. And so whenever anyone tells us it's an accident, I hope that we're all very quick to retort that. And I gotta say, I am just devastated the fact that we're all standing in the same place that we were standing just a couple weeks ago. It's unbelievable, but it's still believable. No matter how much we've spoken out over the last year, no matter how much we want to pat ourselves on the back, there is so much work left to be done. And we're really happy that you are all here paying attention to help us do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Minnesota's own Attorney Jeff Storms making the case. So right now, y'all, this is very hard. I mean, for many people in America, watching these videos are very hard. I mean, you suffer PTSD just from watching the TV. Just imagine the people who were the family members of these loved ones, who is not a hashtag, it's not a case, it's not a cause, but this is their family. This is Daunte Jr.'s father. You're going to hear about what an incredibly loving father he was from his baby mother, China, and what they went through when Daunte was first born. So it's just emotional. It is very hard from Daunte Wright to George Floyd. I mean, it's just incredibly difficult, but hopefully it will be eased, Stephanie, by Philonis and Rodney and Brandon and the Floyd family being able to stand in solidarity with Daunte Wright, because they know better than anybody else what they're going to be facing as they fight to get justice for Daunte Wright. We're going to first have Philonise Floyd, who did such an incredible job of telling who his brother was in life, since everybody only got to meet him in death. So please give your attention to Philonise Floyd, George Floyd's brother.
To the Wright family, just letting you all know, from the Floyd family, y'all have our condolences. We will stand in support with you all. It's a shame. The world is traumatized watching another African American man being slayed. Every day I wake up, I never thought that this world can be in so much disorder like it is now. Police officers are killing us, and we are being murdered at a rate that I never thought I could imagine. This reminds me of Oscar Grant at the train at the Fruitvale in Oakland, California, where he was told to lay on his chest with his hands behind his back in the prone position as the officer accidentally mistaken to shoot him with a gun instead of tasing him. There was no need to even tase him.
Yeah.
Daunte Wright, just like his last name Wright, he should still be here. It's a time for change, and that time is now. Minneapolis, you all can't sweep this under the rug anymore. We're here, and we will fight for justice for the family, just like we're fighting for our brother. To the protesters all around this nation, stand up.
Stand up.
We need you all to come out, because times like this, people need hugs. People need to be given love. This mom is grieving. What's she at? This mom is grieving too. She lost her dude. This was the baby mother. She shouldn't have to go through what we're going through. Nobody should. This is a family that needs us to stand with them in solidarity now. We need you all to step up and be with us. And please pray for this family, because I'm praying for them, because I woke up in the morning with this on my mind. I don't want to see another victim of death. They claim it's homicide. They need to go back and look at what they're talking about, because homicide now, they're telling me my brother was the same thing, but I want to see the people get the maximum amount of time, just like I would have got the maximum amount of time. Thank you all.
And now we will hear from, which one, Rodney? Rodney Floyd, the baby brother of George Floyd.
You know, we saw this video of this young man, Daunte Wright, and the police are saying that the young man was running from them. But what I saw was on that man's face was a scared young kid, you know, terrified. You know, as black folks, we've been here 400 plus years. And that young man, we've been running ever since from these police officers for trying to kill us. Back then, they was called the slave patrol. Now they called the police. So I started looking that young man out. The same terrified look I had numerous times when I got pulled over by the police. Ranging from 12 years old on up to a grown man today. Numerous people in our communities are faced with these cops who claim they are terrified of black people. Well, policing is not your profession. But you know what? We're going to stand with this family, and hearing this unfortunate young man, baby crying, and that baby's going to be crying for a long time. Crying for his father. Unfortunately, we have to deal with that today. His family is behind us, wife, mother, father, and this is what we're going to console them, comfort them. And you know what? Their father can't comfort the son. But thank y'all.
Thank you, Rodney Floyd. And now we will have the last member of the Floyd family to speak, Brandon Williams, the nephew of George Floyd, who was like a son to him.
I don't really have the words, but I do want to send my condolences to the family. I can't say I know how you feel, but we've been in a similar situation. I know that you need a lot of love, support, and prayer. And any way that our family can stand with you guys and be there, we're here. And to the world, I just simply say damn again. And when I say damn again, I mean another black man or woman killed at the hands of the police using excessive force. If you look around, we're standing outside the courtroom, and my family is right here, right now, in the middle of the Derek Chauvin trial for murdering my uncle George Floyd. In snow and freezing weather conditions, we came to stand with this family. And for what exact reason? A so-called mistake, a handgun for a taser, it's unacceptable. You know, when is enough enough?
Amen.
Can you blame Daunte for being terrified as a black man in the custody of police?
Amen.
When you just watched here in Minneapolis, George Floyd murdered at the hands of the very same police who was unarmed?
Wow.
Let's take a second to think about that. At some point, we need change. At some point, we need better policing. At some point, we need officers to be held accountable, charged, and convicted.
Amen.
Just because you are the law don't mean that you're above the law. That's all I got.
Thank you, Brandon. Trader Truth, you good? Okay. Let's back. Come on, China. Mr. Get on that side there. Yeah, let's come on. Okay. All right. Now with George Floyd family standing right at their shoulders, we have the family of Daunte Wright. We have his mother, Katie Wright, his father, Aubrey Wright, and the mother of Daunte Wright Jr., Miss China Whitaker. Right now, you're going to hear from his mother and his father, and then you're going to hear from China and a few more of his family members. So please give your attention to Miss China Whitaker. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We'll start with Miss Katie first. Miss Katie Wright. China gonna build up. We got you.
I just want to talk a little bit about the day that I got the phone call from my son 2 days ago at 1:47. Was the worst day of my life. He called and said he just got pulled over by the police. And then he said that, I said, well, why did you get pulled over? And he said, because I had air fresheners hanging in the rearview mirror. I said, okay, we'll take them down. He said he also, the police officers were asking about insurance. And I said, okay, when the police officer comes back to the window, put him on the phone and I can give him all of our insurance information. A second goes by and I hear the police officer come back up to the window and ask Daunte to get out of the car. Daunte asked for what? Police officer said, because, you know, I'll explain to you when you get out of the car. He said, am I in trouble? He said, we'll explain all that when you step out of the car. Daunte, and then they asked him to put the phone down. Daunte put the phone down. I heard some scruffling. He got out of the car and I could hear the police officers and scruffling with him.
Take your time. We with you.
We love you, son.
Then I heard the police officer ask them to hang up the phone. They hung up the phone. 3 or 4 seconds went by. I tried calling it back to back to back because I didn't know what was going on. And I never imagined this is what was going to happen. I just thought maybe he was being arrested. And then when I called back, the girl that he had in the car answered the phone. And it was on a FaceTime. And she said, she was crying and screaming, and she said that they shot him. And then she pointed the phone towards the driver's seat, and my son was laying there, unresponsive.
My Lord.
That was the last time that I seen my son. That's the last time I heard from my son, and I have had no explanation since then.
We with you, Miss Katie.
We got your back.
Please keep it. Mr. Wright, do you have a word to say? Okay. Okay. Now we're going to hear from China Whitaker, and we will have Miss Naisha Wright speak for her brother Aubrey Wright. So please give your attention to this young woman who now has to raise her son without his father. Miss China.
The last time I seen Daunte was when I had dropped my son off with his grandma, and I didn't know that was gonna be the last time that I was gonna see him. And I just feel like that's so wrong, because now my son, he don't have a dad. His dad didn't get to see him for his second birthday or for any of his birthdays. And I'm just so messed up about it, because like I feel like they stole my son's dad from him.
Thank you, China. They did steal him. And now we're going to hear from Naisha Wright. This is the brother, this is the sister of Mr. Aubrey Wright. And she's going to speak from the heart and say some of the things that her brother is too heartbroken to say. So y'all please give your attention to Naisha Wright. Hey, you want to get up on the mic so they can hear you?
Say his name!
Daunte Wright!
Say his name!
Daunte Wright!
They murdered my nephew! She killed my nephew!
Listen!
Every pistol, every taser, it has a safety on it. She saw that she had to release that. I watched that video like everybody else watched that video. That woman held that gun out in front of her for a long damn time. A long damn time.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
My nephew was 20 years old.
Tell him
20 years old. I don't care what nobody got to say about him. He was loved.
Yes,
he was ours.
That's right. That's right.
He came from us. My brother and my sister is hurt. Like I said, this is no broken home. This is no broken home. This is 23 years of love. 23. My nephew was 20. Did y'all not see my little great nephew? Did y'all not see that beautiful baby? He is fatherless. Not over a mistake, over murder. Come on. That's murder.
Murder.
Say his name.
Daunte Wright.
Say his name.
Daunte Wright.
I wear this shirt. And the craziest thing is to find out today that my family has connections to this man, to this family. His girlfriend was a teacher for my nephew.
My Lord.
My nephew was a lovable young man. His smile. Oh, Lord, the most beautiful smile. Y'all took that. My nephew's blood is on y'all hands.
Tell him nice.
I've never seen my brother hurt like this before. Never. To hear my brother and to see my sister's pain. Come on. Hold her accountable. Hold her higher than accountable. You train people on this stuff. You train people on this stuff. 26 years. 26 years.
Veteran. Kimberly Powder.
Okay. Say whatever you want to say.
Y'all took him. They need to pay. She need to pay.
They didn't ask to be.
Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. Daunte Life Matters. Daunte Life Matters. Daunte Life Matters. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. And now, we will hear briefly from his cousin who was his age, Mario Greer. He's going to briefly tell you from a young person's perspective what they're going through.
I just want to say, I didn't get to say this to my cousin, but I didn't get the chance to tell my cousin I love him, but I'm telling him I love him now. And
Take your time.
It's okay, nephew. It's okay.
20 years. Now I gotta go every holiday now without my cousin, my baby cousin.
This is pain that y'all seeing. This is pain.
I won't be able to spend holidays with him anymore. The 4th of July, that's our favorite holiday together. We like to shoot Roman candles at each other. We're not gonna be able to do that no more. I love you, Daunte.
Love you, Daunte.
Say his name!
Daunte Wright.
Say his name!
Daunte Wright. And now we're going to have his aunt, Nina Wright. We're going to have, is Nina here? Okay. We're going to have, is Nina here? Well, Grandma? Oh, is Nina here? Okay. Grandma Angie Golson. And then that'll be our final speaker before we have Tashira going to have someone speak to you. We'll try to answer a few of your questions. But please give your attention for his grandmother, Angie Golson.
When I first heard what happened,
Take your time.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I thought somebody was playing a joke on me. It hurt me to my heart. Daunte was a beautiful child. He might not have been an angel, but he was our angel.
Our angel.
He belonged to us.
He belonged to us.
Tell him, Grandma.
And he's gonna be missed.
Okay, Mom.
I'm going to bring back up Tashira Garraway to have another family briefly address you. Then we will take one or two of your questions. Attorney Storm and
I want to say that the day that Daunte was murdered, Justin Tigan, I was having a balloon release for his birthday, which is today. I want Minnesota to pay attention to the pain that they have caused. We was in those legislative rooms and they wouldn't pass the bills. We was out here with our boots on the ground. We was meeting with the governor. We was meeting with the attorney general. Our families who have already lost loved ones have been fighting and they did not listen to us. They did not make the changes, and that is why Daunte is gone today. That is why George Floyd is gone today, because there's some families that led up to Daunte. It's some families that led up to George Floyd. Okay. I want each family to raise their hand that is out here today. I worked hard to get more families out here. We got,
you know the names?
Yes, we got Amity Dimick. Her son Kobe Heisler was killed blocks down the street from Daunte a couple months ago, and the same officer is involved. Okay. We got Jamar Clark's family. We got Travis Jordan family. We got Soren, who was shot by police. Hardell Sherrill. All of Emmett Till. We got Emmett Till's family. We got all of these families from Minnesota They're from Minnesota. Demetrius Hill, Jamar Clark, Marcus Golden, Jefford Smith, Cordell Handy. All of these murders came from Minnesota. It's a clear indication that Minnesota has a problem. Minnesota has a problem here. It's all over the United States, but Minnesota has a problem, and this state needs to be under federal investigation. Enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Shashira. Thank you, Shashira, for recognizing those families. Before we go to the questions, we do have a relative of Emmett Till that came all the way to be here with the families of George Floyd and Daunte Wright. And this is hard from Emmett Till to Daunte Wright to George Floyd.
It's unfortunate. I'm so sorry.
This is hard. You want to say a brief word?
Of course.
Okay. She's going to say a brief word, then we go into your questions.
I would just say this, that the past is not past until justice is served.
Yes. Right.
We are tired and exhausted of the terrorism that has been brought against our families across this country. And I would only say to the families, the Wright family and all the other families that's represented, we are going to continue to stand up. We're going to continue to speak out. And we're going to continue to fight for justice. Emmett Till, we're still fighting for justice after 66 years, y'all.
Amen.
66 years. But let me just say this. We love you. We have your back. We love you and we have your back, and we're here with you. And thank God for the media covering this, because Mamie Till Mobley summoned the media in 1955 for a mother like this to stand here and get her justice. Let's make sure she gets her justice and all of these families get justice too. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Thank you,
Queen. Daunte Wright. And it's so important that even when the media goes, we continue to make noise for Daunte Wright and George Floyd. Let's make some noise for Daunte Wright and George Floyd. Let's make some noise for Daunte Wright and George Floyd. Let's make some noise for Daunte Wright and George Floyd. And we got to keep making noise until we get justice, not just for George Floyd, but justice for Daunte Wright Jr. and all the stolen lives that aren't mentioned. We got to stand up for them too. So we'll take just a few questions. Remember, the family is devastated, so that we'll try to answer them best we can. Any questions?
I just want to know real quick. I heard some allegations that the police officer was fired, and did you hear anything like that perhaps? And it's also the sergeant was fired.
We were informed that she resigned today. We have not been notified officially.
Mr. Crump, do you know what that means for her to have resigned after seeing that video? What needs the family to hear?
Yeah, she resigned. Do you have an opinion about her resigning? Okay. Naisha is going to respond.
Great. Great.
Step one.
Well, I hope that since she went ahead and she resigned again, that they hold her at the highest, because she was the law. She was the law, right? Protect and serve.
Okay.
Put her in jail. Like they would do any one of us.
Yes.
They would put us under that jail cell. It wouldn't be no accident. It'd be murder.
Lock her up.
Thank you. Do you have a question? Anybody else got a question?
We're also hearing that the police chief has resigned.
Great.
Well, Attorney Storms and I both will speak to that. A lot of this is about making sure you have policies and that they are followed. But I believe there is an issue that goes beyond policy. And I do believe that's implicit bias. They treat marginalized minorities differently than they treat white American citizens when they pull them over. And so we have to speak to that. And if the city leadership of Brooklyn Center is saying that we need more effective leadership to make sure that this is prevented in the future, then the family welcomes responsible leadership. Attorney Jeff Storms, who is expert in Minnesota law and policy, will speak to those issues.
I'm just gonna say something, very briefly on that point, which is, it's never an accident, and it's never just one person. Right. The problem is always bigger than that, and I think we saw that in how they reacted to our peaceful protesters. Our journalists and our protesters were there covering history, because this is history. It's a sad part of our history, but it's an important part of our history. And if our police are going to shoot whatever they want to call them, less lethals, which I think we've all seen the harm they could do and have done, if they're going to do that to peaceful protesters and journalists, this isn't just one officer, and I have to believe that played a role in why we've seen our administrators in Brooklyn Center leave over the last couple of days.
A counselor, also about them resigning, are they still getting paid?
We don't know the answers to those questions yet. We'll find out.
Okay, we're going to have one last remark from the NAACP leadership.
Grace and peace, everyone. Leslie E. Redmond. I'm the former president for the Minneapolis NAACP. Angela Rose Meyer, the current president, is actually over at Brooklyn Center right now. You all have to acknowledge what black leadership has done here in Minneapolis. From Nakima Levy-Armstrong, the other former president, black leadership was immediately meeting with the mayor and demanding that this officer be held accountable, demanding that the police chief be held accountable, because this is a systemic issue, as Tashira talked about. Too many lives have been taken, and the NAACP is saying we are done dying. We are done dying. We don't want to see one more family out here. We don't want Attorney Crump out to fly out here one more time to meet with one more family member, because this can change. The same way that mayors swiftly put a curfew into place to protect property, we want you all to use that same energy to protect our people, because Black Lives Matter. And if you all use that same energy, we wouldn't keep dying. Okay? So enough is enough. Black leadership is demanding change in the media. That's what y'all need to cover. That's why change is coming, right? Because black leaders are not playing. We are done dying in Minnesota. Black families are standing up, and enough is enough. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you so much for your leadership.